Hey everyone, it's me, Corrie Sommers, your local Los Angeles Realtor. Today I'm here with Natalie, Salins, and we are going to be talking about the changes happening in lending based on the changes happening in this country. You want to stay tuned, especially if you're someone that's concerned about the current state in this country and how this might affect you. Hey everyone, it's me, Corrie Sommers, your local Los Angeles Realtor. Today I'm here with Natalie Salins of Movement Mortgage. And we got to talking earlier, was it this week or was it the end of last week?
I think last week.
Yeah, the end of last week. Because there's been some changes going on. This is not a political commentary. We're not here to share our personal political views by any means or stretch. But the reality is, with the current administration and those executing orders from the current administration, there are some changes taking place. And one of those changes affects the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974 and how loans are processed and who is shown favor to or maybe discriminated against.
Well, they're not able to show any favoritism towards anybody, but a lot of those laws are now being pulled back. A lot of those regulations are being pulled back so that banks will possibly have the opportunity to discriminate.
Let's talk about that a little bit more in detail, because one of the things we were going back and forth about is you're seeing these changes first really showing up in FHA loans. So they're kind of unraveling, would it be fair to say, the protected classes that have always kind of been a part of lending, or I don't want to say always, since I've done loans, but since the 70s been a part of the lending process, and share a little bit like what that looks like when you're taking in an application. What is identifying someone as someone that's protected versus like that process for you?
Sure, yeah. So it's FHFA, which is Fannie and Freddie. Those are like the government agencies that regulate loans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
FHA might have different guidelines at this point, but it's confusing a bit.
Okay.
FHFA
So Fannie
is Fannie and Freddie. Those
Okay, so not FHA. Sorry, guys.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But they will have similar, restrictions and guidelines and stuff. So when I take an application, I have to ask your race, which a lot of people don't realize. And then I sometimes will apologize and be like, I'm sorry, but I need to have it on the application. The reason for it is actually the opposite of discrimination. I ask for it because there's regulation in place right now to make sure I'm not discriminating, to make sure that at the end of the year, all of my applications have a wide range of different ethnicities and races and gender, all of it, right? That's why it's there. It is in the works right now to kind of get rid of that on the applications. Also, there's certain programs in place for certain races,
Let me kind of pause you for a second and ask a question, because it's just so let me just kind of back that up a little bit. When you say there's programs in places for certain races or ethnic backgrounds, we're talking what, Hispanic, African American, Asian, exactly. Like any of those groups, they've been protected so that they are treated fairly when it comes to lending practices, correct?
Correct. Quote, minorities and such.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are special programs out there that are also, we are getting information, are also being rolled back at this point. So we'll see. It's kind of like all, I hate to say it, to use the word because it seems so political, but it's all a bit of the DEI that right now is being rolled back. We're seeing it in grants and all different programs. If there is verbiage in it that pertains to DEI, those grants are no longer available actually. In a lot, not even in lending, but also now we are seeing it in lending.
So like something like a single woman or a single mother or something like programs like that were designed for that kind of thing?
Yeah, there aren't programs necessarily designed for that, but that is part of ECOA, right? So the Equal Credit Opportunity Act was that we can't discriminate if somebody is a woman and wanting to do something single. If she's pregnant, somebody that's 19, as long as they're 18 and above, I am not able to discriminate against age. There are laws in place to protect on that.
Which, by the way, if you are 18 or above, let's say between the ages of 18 and 24, and you're looking to buy a home for the first time, kudos to you. That is amazing.
Yes.
My nephew did it, so I'm super proud of him. And
That's so
he just
good.
bought his second home
Oh my
at
gosh.
26. So, but that is like give yourself the head start in life. Really think about that.
Yeah,
So keep
yeah.
going.
No, we are not allowed to discriminate. We're not allowed to have an opinion on it. None of it. Like, we take the application. If you qualify, if you look it on paper, that's all that matters to us. And there are lots of regulation in place for that. And let me say, there's a lot of regulation that we don't need necessarily. Like this deregulation that we talk about, some of it will probably be good. There's so much that we have to follow now. A lot of it that is really not necessary. And
I guess it's kind of like the state of society, right? If we're all doing the right thing, we don't need to be worried about, or we would have a need for certain regulations because everyone's doing the right thing. So regulations kind of came about when people were not doing the right thing to the detriment of others.
Correct. That's exactly right. And banks, I think, have a history of not always doing the right thing. Right?
Yeah.
So we just saw, and it doesn't have to date back to 1974. We just saw something happen where banks were taking major advantage of buyers just in 2007, right? So it's regulation specifically for that. And we're also seeing the CFPB, which is how the banks are regulated as well. That's kind of done. That's kind of gone, I think, at this point.
So what do you think is next when it comes to getting a loan? If you are receiving an applicant, let's just say a single mom with 2 kids, the applications don't ask about children, but a single...
They do ask about children, and they want to know their ages.
Oh, that's kind of new from when I did loans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because we want to know how much longer they're living in the house. Again, we can't judge, but if you have a child and you are not married, is there alimony?
Right.
Is there child support? What's happening there? That's why we ask.
Financially. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, Fannie Freddie, not FHA, but there is some down the road changes that are coming to FHA as well.
There could be, yes.
Could be,
yeah.
okay.
I think it's overall disclosures are going to shift and change.
Okay.
We'll see. Hopefully some of it will take away from the 60 pages of disclosures we have to send buyers at the beginning.
Yeah. Paperwork
But I just,
overload.
we hope that anything that has to do, of course, with discrimination will stay in place and make sure that we are giving equal opportunity to everybody out there who wants to buy, of course.
Yeah. And again, the only thing I'm going to say that might sound semi-political, and I don't think this should be a political statement, is if we're all doing the right thing and treating everybody fairly and equally, we don't need so much regulation. The reality I think we've seen in the last 6 years is that there is a portion of people still in this country that don't behave that way. And so you just never know. Are you working with someone who internally has that kind of behavior or thoughts outside of the workplace, or are you not? What I can say is with Natalie, she's amazing and an angel, and all my clients that work with her absolutely love her.
Thank you. And so is Movement Mortgage, the company that I work for.
Great company. I in Massachusetts worked very closely with Movement Mortgage as well. Like, can't say anything bad about them at all. So I think it really boils down to who you work with matters. Really relying on having those strong relationships and those referral relationships. If you're working with an agent that you know, like, and trust, and that you've done business with before, or you've built up a camaraderie, and they really kind of stand out beyond some other people, go with their recommendations are, because those, like breeds like, the relationships will, intangibly be the same.
Yeah.
Any other
That's
thoughts about it?
now.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I think it's probably going to boil down to the institution.
Oh, that's a good point.
So again, go to great referral partners, go to people that you get a good feeling from and can trust, and it might end up being an actual institution, an actual bank decision on things. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now it's too early to say, avoid XYZ banks because they're being, not so friendly in a certain avenue, but there's definitely changes, and this may or may not affect you. But I would just say, if you try to get a pre-approval and you're denied, what's the first step someone should do? Should they talk to
Somebody else. Talk to somebody else. 100%.
And see if they're approved with someone else?
Yeah.
Because that'll kind of be a little bit telling of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I have Natalie's information below, so if you are needing to get a pre-approval because you're considering buying a home, reach out to Natalie. And of course, if you'd like to get on my calendar to talk about things, it's just exploratory, no obligation, we can have that conversation. Thank you guys so much for watching. More next time.